The metallic screech of a plasma torch cut through the silence of the Wanderer's cramped workshop, accompanied by the frantic chirping of a distressed drone. Durin worked with the finesse of someone who'd learned engineering through trial and error, mostly error. Sparks flew in chaotic bursts, illuminating his weathered face as he attempted to reattach a panel to Bolt's cylindrical frame. "Hold still, will you?" Durin muttered, squinting against the glare. Bolt's optical sensors flickered in what might have been indignation. "Repair status critical. Technique suboptimal." "Suboptimal?" Durin straightened, placing a clawed hand on his hip. "I saved your tin can from a self-destructing ship. You're lucky you're getting a tune-up at all." From the overhead speakers, Sif's voice dripped with its characteristic sarcasm. "You'll have to forgive him, Bolt. Durin's expertise lies more in breaking things than fixing them." "Funny," Durin shot back, picking up a spanner. "You weren't complaining when I patched this ship together with duct tape and prayers after our last job." The Ari's dry hum filled the cabin. "Yes, and I'm sure it'll hold up wonderfully during atmospheric entry. Nothing says structural integrity quite like adhesive strips." Durin grumbled something under his breath and bent back to work. Bolt, sensing the tension, emitted a cautious beep. "New captain, structural stability of this unit acceptable. Functionality restored almost." "Almost," Durin said, tightening the last bolt with a sharp twist. "There. Good as new. Well, as new as you're going to get." He stepped back to survey his handiwork. One of Bolt's arms still dangled slightly out of alignment, but at least it wasn't sparking anymore. The drone wobbled experimentally before chirping with satisfaction. "Systems operational. Gratitude extended." Durin grinned and tapped the drone's metallic dome. "That's more like it. Now let's see what shiny secrets your precious humans left us." He turned toward the central console where the data core sat secure in its casing, casting eerie shadows across the walls with its faint blue glow. Sif's holographic form flickered to life above the console, a sleek, abstract design as impassive as ever. "I've made progress deciphering the data core," Sif announced, ignoring Durin's dramatic flourish. "Though I must say, Terran encryption is unnecessarily convoluted. It's as if they were actively trying to frustrate anyone who came after them." "Probably were," Durin said, leaning over the console. "What have you got?" The hologram shifted, projecting a series of fragmented star maps. Glyphs and coordinates scrolled across the display, their meaning tantalizingly out of reach. "Preliminary analysis suggests this is a map," Sif said dryly. "Though I'm sure you deduced that with your unparalleled intellect." Durin ignored the jab, his antenna twitching with excitement. "This looks like a hidden system. Way out in the middle of nowhere." "Indeed," Sif confirmed. "The coordinates place it on the fringes of known space. However, the system's current location has shifted over millennia due to galactic drift. I'll need to recalculate." Bolt chirped again, its optics glowing brighter. "Human's location. Isolus Prime. Probability high." Durin frowned. "Isolus Prime? What's that?" Sif hesitated, a rare moment of silence from the AI. "A designation within the data core. Translated loosely, it means the isolated prime. A fitting name for a system designed to be hidden." The cabin fell quiet. The weight of the revelation settled over them like a shroud. Durin leaned closer to the console, his excitement tempered by a flicker of unease. "And we're sure this isn't just some dead end?" "Only one way to find out," Sif replied, the hologram collapsing into a stream of numbers. "I'll calculate the coordinates. Prepare the ship for a long jump." Durin stood straight, rolling his shoulders. "All right, Bolt, get yourself settled. Sif, work your magic. If this system holds even a fraction of what it promises, it'll make the Eternal Resolve look like a warm-up act." As the ship's hum deepened in preparation for the jump, Durin allowed himself a moment to dream. Treasure. Answers. Fame. Everything he'd ever wanted might lie within their grasp if they could survive getting there. The Wanderer drifted through the endless void, its engines humming softly as it pushed toward the edges of known space. The cabin lights flickered with their usual erratic rhythm, a reflection of Durin's patchwork repairs. Durin himself sat slouched in the captain's chair, one leg hooked over an armrest as he idly flipped a coin-like Terran trinket between his claws. Still calculating, Sif? He asked, his voice tinged with impatience. The Ari's holographic form shimmered to life on the main console, abstract and radiating faint irritation. Unless you've discovered a way to bypass the complexities of galactic drift and time dilation, yes. I'm still calculating. Durin groaned, tossing the coin into the air and catching it with a lazy swipe. You've got all the computing power in the galaxy, and you're telling me it takes this long to plot a course? Yes, Sif replied flatly. Unlike your seat-of-the-pants approach to navigation, I prioritize precision. Would you prefer we emerge from hyperspace inside a star? Don't tempt me, Durin muttered. Bolt chirped from across the cabin, where it was carefully organizing tools Durin had abandoned mid-repair. Precision critical. Star collision non-optimal. Durin snorted. Thanks, Bolt. Always good to have a second opinion. As if in defiance of Durin's skepticism, Sif's projection flickered and displayed the final coordinates. A glowing map hovered in the air, highlighting a distant system far beyond the usual trade routes. There, Sif announced, its tone smug. Isolus Prime. An isolated star system orbiting an uncharted tundra world. Congratulations, Durin. You've officially reached the middle of nowhere. Durin leaned forward, his antenna twitching with curiosity. That's it. Doesn't look like much. It rarely does, Sif replied. However, the system's orbital data suggests the presence of an artificial satellite. Likely Terran in origin. I trust that piques your interest. Durin was already grinning. Oh, you know me. Anything old, dangerous, and shiny is right up my alley. Let's get moving. The Wanderer shuddered as its engines roared to life, and the viewport filled with the swirling blues and blacks of hyperspace. For a moment, the cabin fell silent save for the soft hum of machinery as the jump progressed. Durin wandered over to where Bolt was methodically aligning a row of spanners. So, Bolt, he began, leaning casually against the wall. Ever been to the middle of nowhere before? The drone paused, its optics flickering. No data on middle of nowhere. Assumed location, everywhere but here. Durin barked a laugh, clapping the drone's dome. Well, you're in for a treat. I hear the scenery's top-notch. Ice, ice, and more ice. Bolt tilted slightly, processing. Ice hazardous to systems. Malfunction likely. Relax, Durin said, shaking his head. We'll bundle you up nice and warm. The ship dropped out of hyperspace with a jolt, the viewport flooding with the pale glow of a distant sun. Ahead, a planet emerged, its surface veiled in a thick shroud of icy clouds. Orbiting the planet was a small, angular moon that seemed too perfect in its symmetry. Almost deliberately constructed. Sif, Durin said, his voice quieter now. Tell me that's natural. It's not, the AI replied. Energy readings confirm artificial construction. The satellite appears dormant, though it is emitting faint residual signals. Durin's eyes narrowed as he studied the moon. Its surface was a patchwork of metallic panels, dotted with what looked like ancient weapon emplacements. The kind that made his scales prickle with instinct. Dormant, he said cautiously. I'll take your word for it. The Wanderer drew closer, and the planet's details came into focus. Vast tundra plains stretched across its surface, broken only by jagged mountain ranges and frozen seas. Durin tapped his claws against the console, a faint unease creeping into his chest. Not exactly inviting, he muttered. Few Terran sites are, Sif quipped. Bolt chirped, ever the optimist. Planetary surface promising. Terran artifacts likely. Durin smirked despite himself. Yeah, Bolt. Likely. And probably guarded by a 1,000-year-old death trap. But hey, where's the fun in easy? As the Wanderer prepared to enter orbit, the artificial moon pulsed faintly. Its dormant systems flickered to life with a sound like a predator waking from sleep. A low, garbled transmission crackled through the comms, the words barely decipherable but unmistakably hostile. Warning. Unauthorized approach detected. Durin froze, his antenna twitching. Sif. The satellite is awakening, the AI said, its voice clipped. I suggest we prepare for deception or retreat. Durin's grin widened as he reached for the controls. Retreat. What's the fun in that? The Wanderer inched closer, its engines humming with determination as Durin braced himself for whatever challenge the Terran satellite had in store. The Wanderer hovered in low orbit around the icy planet, its engines humming with a steady rhythm. On the viewscreen, the artificial moon loomed large, its metallic surface reflecting faint streaks of light from the distant sun. Durin sat rigid in the captain's chair, his claws tapping nervously on the armrest. Okay, Sif, he said, his voice low but firm. What exactly are we dealing with here? Sif's holographic form flickered to life, projecting a glowing schematic of the moon. The satellite appears to be a Terran construct. Its design suggests it served as a defensive outpost or monitoring station. Faint energy signatures indicate partial system functionality. Partial functionality, Durin said slowly. You're saying it's not entirely dead? Correct, Sif replied. Its systems are dormant but not defunct. Residual power levels suggest it could reactivate under certain conditions, such as an unauthorized approach. As if on cue, the comms crackled to life. A garbled voice cut through the cabin, its tone unmistakably threatening. Warning. Unauthorized approach detected. State designation. Bolt emitted a nervous chirp, its optics flickering. New captain. This seems not good. No kidding, Bolt, Durin muttered, leaning forward. Sif, tell me we've got something to throw at this thing. A clearance code. A distraction. Anything. Fortunately, Sif said, its tone dry as ever, I anticipated your usual lack of preparation. I've generated a falsified Terran clearance signature based on data retrieved from the Eternal Resolve. It's crude, but it may suffice. Durin shot a glance at the overhead speakers. And you're just now telling me this? I wanted to savor the moment, Sif replied. Shall I transmit the signal? Do it, Durin said quickly, his fingers tightening on the armrests. The cabin grew tense as Sif activated the falsified signal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the garbled voice returned, its tone slightly less menacing. Clearance accepted. Temporary access granted. Proceed with caution. Durin let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Well, that's a first. Something actually went right. Bolt chirped in agreement. Deception successful, new captain. Impressive. Don't encourage him, Sif said as the Wanderer drifted closer to the planet. The moon's faint glow began to dim, its systems settling back into dormancy. Durin relaxed slightly, though the unease in his chest remained. Sif, he said, his voice softer now. What's the chance that thing's going to wake up again? Unknown, the AI admitted. Its systems are unpredictable. But it is unlikely to remain dormant indefinitely. I suggest proceeding with haste. The ship began its descent through the planet's atmosphere, the icy clouds parting to reveal a vast expanse of frozen tundra below. The terrain was stark and uninviting, with jagged mountains rising in the distance and patches of shimmering ice reflecting the pale sunlight. Durin peered out the viewport, his antenna twitching. Lovely place. Really screams ancient death trap. Bolt tilted its dome, processing the landscape. Terran artifacts highly probable. Exploration priority. Yeah, Durin muttered, adjusting the controls. Let's just hope whatever's down there is worth the trouble. As the Wanderer skimmed the surface, the ship's scanners beeped, highlighting a faint energy signature buried deep beneath the ice. Durin frowned, leaning closer to the console. Sif, what am I looking at? The signature appears consistent with advanced Terran technology, Sif said. It's faint but localized. If I had to guess, it's emanating from an underground structure. Durin's smirk returned. Now we're talking. Bolt, you ready for another adventure? The drone chirped enthusiastically. Adventure optimal, new captain. Lead the way. The ship settled onto the frozen ground, its landing struts sinking slightly into the ice. Durin stood, grabbing his gear and fastening his patched relic hunting suit. All the while, a sense of anticipation thrummed through him. All right, team, he said as he headed toward the airlock. Let's see what the ghosts of humanity left behind this time. He reached for the lever to open the airlock when a faint crackle of static came over the comms. A chillingly familiar voice echoed through the cabin, the same one from the moon, but different somehow. Older. Colder. Warning. Unauthorized personnel detected. Proceed with caution. Durin froze, his antenna twitching wildly. Sif, tell me that's just a glitch. Unlikely, the AI replied solemnly. It seems we've only scratched the surface of what this system has to offer. With a deep breath, Durin pulled the lever. The airlock hissed open, revealing the frozen wasteland beyond. Behind him, the Wanderer sat quietly, its engines idling like a predator ready to pounce. Above it all, the artificial moon hung in the sky, its dormant gaze seemingly fixed on the team below. Durin stepped out into the frigid unknown. The biting wind cut through the barren landscape like a knife. Durin's boots crunched against the ice, the sound unnervingly loud in the vast, silent tundra. Behind him, Bolt wheeled out awkwardly, its mismatched wheels struggling for traction on the frost-slick ground above. The artificial moon hung ominously, its dormant systems giving no indication of activity. Sif, Durin muttered, adjusting his helmet's visor against the glare of the planet's pale sun. What's the reading on this place? Anything useful? The Ari's voice crackled through his helmet comms, dry as ever. Atmospheric composition is tolerable for humans, though hardly inviting. Surface temperature is -62 Fahrenheit. Your suit will hold for approximately 8 hours before requiring a thermal reset. Durin scanned the horizon, his unease growing with every frozen mile. Great. Plenty of time to freeze to death if this treasure hunt goes sideways. Beside him, Bolt trundled along on its mismatched wheels, the uneven terrain causing an occasional lurch. The drone emitted a cheerful chirp. Thermal failure suboptimal. Recommendation: maintain efficiency. Durin snorted. Thanks for the tip, Bolt. Really helpful. The landscape stretched out endlessly, a barren expanse of glittering frost and jagged ice formations. Mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks shrouded in thin wisps of cloud. The faint hum of the Wanderer's idling engines was the only reminder that they weren't completely alone. Sif's voice broke the silence. The energy signature is approximately 1 kilometer north. I recommend proceeding with caution. The terrain appears deceptively stable. Durin started forward, his boots crunching against the frost. Caution's my middle name. I thought it was recklessness, Sif quipped. Bolt chirped as it rolled alongside, occasionally skidding slightly on the icy surface. Terrain stable. Artifacts possible beneath surface. Durin stopped and crouched, running a gloved claw over the frosted ground. Faint geometric patterns were etched into the ice, too precise to be natural. His antenna twitched as a thrill of excitement coursed through him. "Sif, you seeing this?" he asked, tapping his helmet. "Indeed," the AI replied, scanning through the suit sensors. "These patterns are consistent with Terran design. Likely decorative markings or possibly structural schematics buried beneath the surface. Or treasure maps," Durin said with a grin, standing and brushing the frost from his gloves. "Come on, Bolt. Let's find out where this rabbit hole leads." The trek across the tundra was grueling. Bitter winds whipped against Durin's suit, and the ground beneath his boots occasionally shifted with unsettling cracks. Bolt rolled unevenly behind him, its damaged wheel screeching faintly with every rotation. The drone paused periodically to stabilize itself before lurching forward again. Sif's voice cut through the calm once more. "You're approaching the source of the energy signature. Approximately 50 meters ahead." Durin squinted through the visor, his antenna twitching. The ice ahead shimmered faintly, reflecting the sunlight in a way that seemed unnatural. As they drew closer, the shimmering grew more pronounced, resolving into a circular depression in the ground. "Looks like we found something," Durin muttered, crouching near the edge. Embedded in the ice was a large circular hatch, its surface etched with faded Terran glyphs. The symbols were ancient, their meaning long lost, but they radiated an unmistakable air of importance. "Sif, what do we have here?" Durin asked. "Analyzing," the AI replied. "The glyphs suggest this is a maintenance access point, likely leading to an underground structure. The hatch is sealed, but there appears to be an activation mechanism beneath the frost." Durin reached for a small plasma tool on his belt and began melting away the ice covering the hatch's edges. "Looks like it's time to earn my keep. Bolt, keep watch for anything sneaking up on us." The drone chirped affirmatively, its wheels skidding slightly as it turned in a wide arc to scan the surroundings. As the last of the ice melted, Durin spotted a faintly glowing panel on the hatch's edge. He tapped it experimentally, and a low hum resonated through the ground. "That's either really good or really bad," he muttered. The panel's glow intensified, and the hatch began to creak open with a hiss of pressurized air. A shaft extended downward, its walls lined with frost-covered metal and faintly glowing cables. The darkness beyond was absolute, waiting to swallow them whole. "Well, team," Durin said, his voice tinged with excitement, "looks like we've got our way in." Sif's voice was as dry as ever. "I recommend haste. The energy signature has shifted slightly. Something within the structure may be activating in response to your presence." Durin glanced at Bolt, whose optics flashed nervously. "Relax, Bolt. We've made it this far. What's the worst that could happen?" He stepped to the edge of the hatch and peered into the dark, glowing shaft. The faint hum from below grew louder, almost like a distant heartbeat, a rhythm that had been sleeping for centuries, now stirring awake. With a deep breath, Durin tightened his grip on his gear and began the descent into the unknown. The icy tunnels stretched endlessly ahead, their dim glow casting long shadows on the frost-coated walls. Each step echoed faintly, swallowed almost instantly by the oppressive silence. Bolt trundled beside him, its mismatched wheels grinding softly against the uneven floor. Sif's voice provided occasional commentary through the comms in his helmet, each observation tinged with dry precision. "This complex is larger than anticipated. The energy reading suggests significant infrastructure buried beneath the surface. Likely a combination of monitoring systems and power generators." "Great," Durin muttered, his claws tightening on the grip of his plasma cutter. "The bigger the place, the bigger the treasure." "Right. Or the bigger the death trap," Sif quipped. Durin rolled his eyes and pressed on, his antenna twitching with a mixture of unease and excitement. The air grew colder as they descended, the frost on the walls thickening into solid ice. Bolt beeped nervously, its optics flickering as it scanned the passage. Anomalous readings detected, the drone reported. Faint power sources ahead. Good, Durin said, trying to sound confident. We're getting close. The tunnel opened abruptly into a cavernous chamber. Its sheer scale forced Durin to stop in his tracks. His suit lights swept across the room, revealing a massive central console surrounded by towering columns. The columns were intricately carved, their surfaces adorned with faded Turan glyphs and geometric patterns. Between them, large screens hung in fractured silence, their cracked surfaces flickering faintly with static. Whoa, Durin breathed, stepping cautiously into the room. Sif, you seeing this? Indeed, the AI replied, its tone unusually subdued. This appears to be the control center of the complex. The central console is likely the source of the energy signature we've been tracking. Bolt wheeled forward, its optics focused on the console. Structure operational. Partial systems online. Durin approached the console, brushing away a layer of frost to reveal a surface embedded with glowing circuits. The faint hum of dormant machinery filled the air, vibrating through the floor beneath his boots. This thing's been sitting here for how long? He muttered, running a claw over the console's surface. Based on atmospheric and geological data, Sif replied, at least several millennia. It's remarkable that any of its systems remain functional. Durin crouched, inspecting the console more closely. A cluster of buttons and a circular interface glowed faintly, their symbols almost familiar. So how do we turn it on without blowing ourselves up? He asked. Carefully, Sif said. There's an access port on the left side. Connect your suit's auxiliary interface. I'll handle the rest. Durin hesitated. You're sure this won't trigger some ancient security system? I'm not in the mood to get vaporized today. I'm confident enough, Sif replied, his tone annoyingly calm with a sigh. Durin extended a cable from his suit and connected it to the port. The console hissed faintly, its circuits pulsing with light as Sif initiated the interface. The room came alive, screens flickered to life, projecting holographic patterns and fragments of Turan glyphs. A low hum resonated through the chamber, growing steadily louder until it felt like the walls themselves were vibrating. Now we're talking, Durin said, grinning despite himself. Bolt beeped excitedly, rolling closer to the console. Systems active. Data streams unstable. Unstable, Durin repeated, his grin faltering. The holograms above the console shifted, forming fragmented images of star maps, human figures, and machinery. Voices crackled faintly, speaking in garbled Turan phrases that sent chills down Durin's spine. Can you make sense of any of this? He asked, tapping his helmet. Patience, Sif replied. The system is struggling to stabilize. Give me a moment. As Sif worked, Durin wandered the room, his claws tracing the glyphs on the columns. The carvings told a story he couldn't understand but felt compelled to decipher. Bolt trundled after him, its optics flickering between the holograms and the carvings. This place feels alive, Durin murmured. Like it's watching us. The oracle is partially sentient, Sif said, his voice sharper now. It's designed to process and respond to stimuli. Though its functionality has degraded over time. Proceed carefully, Durin. This is no ordinary machine. Durin stopped in his tracks, his antenna twitching. Great. A thinking death trap. Just what I needed. Before Sif could reply, the hum of the oracle shifted. The fragmented holograms began to coalesce into something clearer. A distorted voice echoed through the chamber, speaking words Durin could only partially understand. Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Proceed with caution. Durin exchanged a glance with Bolt, whose optics glowed nervously. Sif, tell me this thing isn't about to fry us, Durin said carefully. Unlikely, the AI said, though there was a note of uncertainty in its tone. The oracle is attempting to communicate. Remain calm. Easier said than done, Durin thought as he turned back toward the console, watching the flickering holograms with equal parts fascination and dread. The chamber pulsed with a faint, rhythmic hum as the oracle's fragmented holograms stabilized, forming coherent images interspersed with static. Bolt trundled closer to the console, its optics scanning the shifting projections. Durin stood frozen, transfixed by the sheer scale of what he was witnessing. "Sif," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "What am I looking at?" "The oracle's primary systems are coming online," the AI replied. "What you're seeing appears to be a partial data reconstruction. Likely a combination of historical archives and operational logs." The holograms flickered again, displaying fragmented scenes of a long-lost era. Towering cities gleamed under alien skies, their spires reaching impossibly high. Vast ships, their designs sleek and alien even to Durin, sailed through space with a grace that defied understanding. The visuals were accompanied by faint audio voices speaking in a language Durin couldn't decipher. This is humanity?" Durin asked, or filling his voice. "Fragments of it," Sif confirmed. "Their history. Their achievements. But note the degradation, this data is incomplete. Corrupted over time." Bolt beeped, its optics zooming in on star maps that materialized amidst the shifting images. Data patterns repeating. Star systems highlighted. The maps stabilized briefly, revealing a galaxy-spanning grid with 10 glowing markers scattered across its breadth. Each marker pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, drawing Durin's attention. "What are those?" he asked, pointing at the markers. Sif's tone grew sharper. "Artifact locations. Each marker represents a site associated with Terran relics or technologies. If these coordinates are accurate, they could lead to answers or immense danger." Durin's antenna twitched with excitement. "Danger, treasure, it's all the same to me. We need those locations." The oracle's voice crackled to life, interrupting the conversation. It spoke in broken sentences, its tone mechanical yet tinged with something unsettlingly human. "Warning. Ascension incomplete. Project isolation initiated. Guardians remain active. Proceed with caution." Durin frowned, turning to Bolt. "Guardians? Sif, what's it talking about?" "Unclear," the AI admitted. The term could refer to automated defense systems, sentient constructs, or something else entirely. What is certain is that these sites won't be unguarded. The holograms shifted again, this time showing fragmented images of conflict. Human ships battled against shadowy adversaries. Cities consumed by fire. Towering machines unleashing destruction. The voice continued, repeating distorted phrases that sent chills down Durin's spine. "Final safeguard. Humanity's legacy remains hidden. Unauthorized access triggers protocol." Bolt beeped nervously, its wheels shifting slightly. "Protocol's dangerous. Recommendation: proceed cautiously." Durin exhaled, running a claw over the console. "Yeah, no kidding." One of the holograms zoomed in on a particular star system, its coordinates glowing brighter than the others. The oracle's voice grew clearer, as if directing them specifically. "Primary location. Priority 1. Access restricted. Warning, approach at own risk." Sif processed the data, its voice cutting through the tension. "That system is deep within uncharted space. The oracle's emphasis suggests it holds something of critical importance. Possibly tied to humanity's downfall." Durin's smirk returned. "Critical importance sounds like another word for value. I'm in." "Your optimism is admirable," Sif said dryly. "If misplaced." The room darkened slightly as the oracle's systems began to wind down. The holograms flickered and faded. Bolt beeped again, nudging the base of the console with one of its wheels. Data unstable. System shutting down. Not yet, Durin said frantically, reconnecting his suit interface. We need more information. The console emitted a low groan, the lights dimming further. The Oracle's voice echoed one last time, its tone tinged with finality. Warning. Access logged. Proceed with caution. Guardians will awaken. The central console powered down completely, plunging the room into an eerie silence. Only the faint hum of residual energy remained, like the last breath of a slumbering giant. Durin straightened, his claws resting on his hips as he surveyed the now dormant Oracle. Well, that was ominous. Understatement, Sif remarked. We now have 10 potential artifact sites, all likely guarded by advanced defenses. And if the Oracle's warnings are accurate, something or someone is aware of our presence. Bolt chirped nervously, its optics flashing in irregular patterns. Awareness confirmed. Mission high risk. Durin grinned, his antenna twitching with excitement. High risk, high reward. You know me, Sif. This is exactly my kind of job. The AI side, or at least its equivalent. Then I suggest we leave before the so-called Guardians arrive. Whatever they are, I doubt they'll appreciate our intrusion. Durin nodded, grabbing his gear and motioning for Bolt to follow. As they ascended the way they'd come, his mind raced with possibilities. Humanity's legacy. Treasure. Danger. It was all laid out before him, waiting to be uncovered, but as the Oracle's final warning echoed in his mind, a flicker of doubt crept into his thoughts. Guardians remain, Durin muttered as the tunnels swallowed them in darkness. Let's hope they like visitors. Durin emerged from the shaft, his boots crunching onto the icy surface of the tundra. He inhaled deeply, the freezing air within his helmet doing little to ease his nerves. Behind him, Bolt wheeled out awkwardly, its mismatched wheels struggling for traction on the frost-slick ground. That wasn't so bad, Durin said, trying to keep his tone light as he glanced up at the artificial moon hanging ominously in the sky. In and out. Easy job. Sif's voice crackled through his helmet comms, heavy with sarcasm. Easy. You've activated an ancient Terran system, accessed restricted data, and triggered multiple warnings. By all accounts, this is the opposite of easy. Details, Durin muttered, adjusting the straps on his gear. Anyway, we got what we came for. Let's get back to the ship before something decides to. A low rumble interrupted him, reverberating through the frozen ground. Durin froze, his antenna twitching wildly. Bolt beeped nervously, its optics swiveling toward the sky. Sif, Durin said slowly. What was that? The Ari's response was clipped. The moon. It's powering up. Durin looked up just in time to see the artificial satellite come alive. Pulses of light rippled across its surface, illuminating faintly visible weapon ports that had been dormant.